Halloween has always been a holiday where horror and instilling fear is a common practice, though it is always done in a spirit of fun. But you should never forget, everything has a dark side. Tonight, we look at 3 grisly murders that occurred on Halloween night, performed by individuals who can be considered as monsters, even without a costume. It's strange how only a few minutes can cause a world of change. An unnamed New Jersey patrolsman was making his rounds on Halloween night of 1981. What he would find, however, would be more than just some Halloween mischief. At around midnight, the patrolsman passed by 17-year-old Maria Chilela, walking her way back home after a night of trick-or-treating. Around 10 minutes after the encounter, the officer felt bad for Maria and decided to turn around to offer her a ride. Though after a quick sweep of the area, Maria was nowhere to be seen. But assuming that she was home safe and sound is anything but correct. In the short amount of time the patrolsman was absent, Maria was picked up by Richard von Beigenwald, or better known as the Thrill Killer. Upon entering his vehicle, Beigenwald withdrew a gun and shot Maria 2 times. He then took her body to his mother's home, where he chopped her into 3 smaller pieces with an axe before burying the remains in the yard, sharing a grave with a past victim. Beigenwald was arrested and sentenced to life in prison in 1983 after avoiding a death sentence. He then died in prison in March of 2008, but not before taking over 6 lives with him. Maria's remains were found 4 months after her murder and were given a proper burial. When you return home from your trick-or-treating rounds, you are probably wise to be weary of the sweets you received from total strangers. But what about the treats you get from the most trusted people in your life? Your parents? Well, Ronald Clark O'Brien quickly found himself falling into deep financial debt throughout his adult life. And to him, the only way to recover would be to cash out on his children's life insurance a little early. In 1974, O'Brien gave his 8-year-old son Timothy and 5-year-old daughter Elizabeth, as well as 3 other neighborhood children, pixie sticks for trick-or-treat candy. However, the tubes of delicious fruity sugar had an extra ingredient: potassium cyanide. Potassium cyanide is a highly toxic compound, most known for fast-acting suicide pills and oral-based poisonings. When ingested, potassium cyanide reacts with the acid found in the stomach, creating hydrogen cyanide, which clings to the body's tissues and inhibits cellular respiration, blocking off a stable flow of oxygen to the rest of the body. Within minutes of consumption, the victim will begin uncontrollably vomiting before convulsing, falling unconscious from a lack of oxygen, and eventually dying within an hour. Against his better judgment, Timothy consumed the death stick after a questionable amount of urging from his father. The inevitable had begun, and Timothy was dead before sunrise. Fortunately, the 4 other children did not eat the deadly treat and were able to hand over the pixie sticks to police, which aided in O'Brien's conviction and sentence. O'Brien received the death penalty during his trial, and on March 31st, 1984, he was executed via lethal injection. While in prison, O'Brien received the title the Candyman, the man who killed Halloween. The events that occurred on Halloween of 2004 in Napa, California, can only be described as a living nightmare for Lauren Minza. Lauren and her 2 roommates, Leslie Mazzara and Adrian Izagna, were quite exhausted after a long night of tending to trick-or-treaters and decided to call it a night once the doorbell ceased to ring. But a good night's sleep would be the last of the girls' concerns. At around 1 in the morning, Lauren awoke to hear a strange scuffling noise moving around the staircase and had an odd, deep gut feeling that her life was in danger. Rather than investigating, Lauren fled the house and hid in the backyard, where after a few minutes, she was horrified to watch an unknown man jump out of one of the house's windows and flee into the night. Lauren then ran back into the house to be met with a horrid sight. Her 2 friends stabbed multiple times in the chest and clinging on to the last strands of their lives, where they would die shortly before officials arrived at the scene. Thanks to DNA found on cigarettes located around the crime scene, the murderer was identified as Eric Koppler, the fiancé to one of Adrian's friends. Koppler viewed his fiancé's friends as a threat to his relationship with her and brought it upon himself to remove all those deemed as a potential enemy. Koppler was sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2005 and still serves today. I want to thank you for getting this far. I would appreciate you leaving a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to me if you haven't already. Feel free to leave a comment with any ideas you want covered. Who knows, your idea may just be the next episode. I am Dr. Moxmo, and I bid you a safe but terrifying Halloween.